One of the biggest frustrations about traveling is visas. And when I say frustration, it almost feels like an understatement because visas honestly feel like they were made to only work for the rich and the desperate and no one in between. And what do I mean by that? Well, if you want to go to Thailand these days, you basically need to pay $20,000 as a fee to just exist there. On the other hand, 5 or 10 years ago, you could just go and visa hop, live your life there, adventure, be a tourist. Uh, they skip the middle. Every visa option requires you to be somebody of importance or essentially just to be a refugee. And that applies for the EU as well. If you want to exist in some states in the EU, not even all, because most states in the EU have a pretty impossible entry point. Essentially, you have to be a student there, you have to have family there, or you just have to be really rich and start a business. Spain, for example, the country I would like to live in, probably has a pretty lax system compared to most, but the problem then is the bureaucracy. For example, I'm trying to apply for my visa for Spain, and everything seemed pretty simple, pretty easy, as easy as things get in a bureaucracy at least. But they're now telling me that, oh, well, your translations that you submitted for all the documentation that you gave, this huge packet, all those translations are wrong because your translator isn't a certified, authorized translator for the Spanish embassy. Is there a list of these translators that are certified? I'll go to one. I have 10 working days to figure this out. Okay, that's really short, but I'll find one, I'll pay the fee, I'll get the paperwork, retranslate it, and we'll hit the road running. And oh, well, there's a problem with that because the list that they give me of certified translators, none of them exist in Serbia. So the country I live in, where I'm submitting my documents, they don't have a list of Serbian translators. Yet at the same time, they tell me the one that I have that is authorized to translate in Serbia through the courts of Serbia is not authorized. So I'm in a bit of a tricky situation here. Honestly, if this doesn't get resolved, then how exactly does anyone actually submit documentations for visas in Spain if there are no official translators that are authorized by the embassy? Essentially, what they're telling me is, hey, your paperwork is wrong. We're not going to tell you how to fix it. That is very frustrating. Puts me in this weird situation where I really wonder, does the system even want me? Right? I'm not wealthy enough to just put $500,000 down on a house, which would be the easiest way to get into the country. And I'm not desperate enough to run into the border and claim refugee status, which would be not the easiest, but the most affordable way to enter the country. I'm somewhere in the middle. I'm just a normal person. And it's quite frustrating. Look, there are other options, right? I could enter the country as a student. I don't want to be a student. I don't want to go back to university just for the privilege of existing in Spain, especially since I don't need to work. I don't need more education. I have my pension. I don't need anything more than what I already have. I'm content. But in the eyes of the state, being a student, if for some reason, is more valid than being retired. So you require less paperwork for students, less paperwork for wealthy people purchasing homes for visas, and more for people who are just retired, who just want to exist without a work visa, by the way. I don't even want to have the right to work in the country. I just want to have the right to exist in the country. Well, apparently this is too much to ask for. So I'm in this really tricky, really sticky situation, very frustrated because the best option for me at the moment to become a Spanish resident is to go to a language school, which I'm not against going to a language school, by the way. My Spanish isn't good. I would love to learn more Spanish, but the requirements, the caveats, are pretty extreme, right? There's only so many language schools in Spain, and they're all quite expensive. You're going to spend somewhere between, say, $500 to $800 a month on the fee to go to the Spanish school, and then you're going to spend whatever it costs to exist in the place where the school is. So I've already looked around, and it seems Barcelona might be the best option, but it's not very affordable to live in Barcelona, as everyone's complained about. on the internet these days, including the locals. So what do I do in a situation where living in Barcelona means spending lots of money and also paying the fee? Altogether, I think I would spend somewhere around $1,700 a month just to have a legal status and live somewhere in Barcelona. And that's also temporary. That only lasts as long as the class. So after 3 to 6 months, I no longer have that status and I have to go. So it's not a full-time solution to my objective of living in Spain. It really only gives me a little bit more time, maybe enough time to put some roots down, maybe enough time to kind of get things situated, have an apartment, put my dog somewhere, put my stuff somewhere, but it's not a full solution. A longer term solution, which would still be included in the student visa option, is basically doing all the paperwork over again. So, medical certificate, all the things translated, background checks, blah. But then this time, going to apply for a long term student visa. This gives me a residency status, but the problem is, although I would get my residency status, I would still be paying this, say, $666 fee to remain in Spain as a student and also be studying as a student. I don't really know if I want to study Spanish for a year and in an official setting. It doesn't really seem necessary, honestly. I think 3 to 6 months is enough time. Also, it's expensive. I'm not rich. $700 a month is a lot of money for me. So I think, honestly, if I had to choose this route, it would put me in a really tough situation financially. I wouldn't struggle, but I'd have to really budget. I'd have to really be careful with what I'm doing every day to make sure I'm not digging a hole for myself. My original plan was for me to get my visa and to move somewhere rural, buy a property. I have enough money for that with a mortgage, and just exist, be outside of the rat race indefinitely, work on my hobbies. But Spain's making it very hard for me right now to do those things. Very hard is an understatement. Spain, it really feels like it's impossible. I'm gonna do my best to overcome this particular situation, but it's moments like this where I really feel like when you try to do the right thing, life punches you down. It's like you're trying to be righteous, so I'm gonna show you righteous pain. I don't understand how so many people con their way through the system and receive no problems at the beginning to the end, but you try to do the right thing, and there's so many obstacles along the way. So, rant over. It's really stressful right now. I'm just trying to get my visa for Spain, and I keep running into these almost impossible situations. So I'm not really sure what to do next, but I'm gonna keep persevering because I have to. This is the cost of living. I have to just keep going, and maybe some more options will open up in the future, but I'm not going to toss all my cards or all my chips into one basket. We'll just keep seeing what the options are along the way. But I do hope Spain is the option. I do hope that I do end up in Spain. I've been daydreaming about this for years, for 2 years now. So I just want to go ahead and get it done. I think it's time for us to go get some coffee. Peace.